We are in Shmuel Aleph, and we are in chapter 11. Everybody's gone home. Everybody's gone home, and the Bnei Belial, the people who were unscrupulous men. That's how he defines it: unscrupulous men. Again, men without the yoke of the government, as you will, the lowlifes of the society, did not want to accept Shaul as their king, as the Malbim explained, because they wanted to have a king that ruled by, that would walk away from Torah. They didn't want, that's why the Bnei Belial, they don't want to be without the yoke of the heaven. They wanted to take on the government. Now, why would I, by the way, if you ever think about it, I wasn't going to get into this part now, but let's do it. Why would you want to get rid of the yoke of heaven and take on the yoke of the government?
So that's what we have today.
Why would we want that? Yeah.
You can negotiate with man.
Negotiate with man.
Yeah,
that's
you make
number
your own
one.
laws that
But
way.
you can go.
Yeah.
You can what?
You
make your own laws. Or what else can you do? You can cheat the government.
Aha.
Correct. In other words, the government doesn't know what I'm doing. Let's face it. I'm sorry.
If you're obeying the laws of heaven,
Heaven knows what I'm doing and what I'm not. When it comes to a king, I can hide amongst the different people. I don't. You're not going to catch me. The odds of people being caught on tax fraud is very small.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Even though we have horror stories of people who were innocent and got caught doing something because they messed something up or whatever it is going to be, but for the most part, the government doesn't really get involved in our personal lives. In other words, they don't come to your door and knock on the door and say, "Hey, you guys did something wrong," unless you really did something egregious, and they caught you, and there's enough evidence to do that. But so for that reason, it was better to be under the law of the government, which doesn't have eyes that see all and know all, than even with Big Brother watching. Because while I'm recording this, it can be watching me. That's what we all know. Then in other words, they can come through the PC and see what I'm doing. I'm supposed to be really interested in the government and NSA to know what my share is about. I understand that. So that's why they're zoning into Rabbi Nebel at YouTube, Rabbi Nebel, and watching all my videos, right? But the bottom line is that we would rather have the yoke of the government on us than the yoke of God. Because like I said, God understands what we're doing. God knows why we're doing it too. Unlike the government, again, they can't read my mind. They can't read my heart. What they can do is they can go by evidence, they can figure out what I'm doing and so on and so forth. But for the most part, they don't know if I'm really serious or not, right? But God does. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why the Bnei Belial, according to the Malbim, was upset. They were saying, well, we didn't want this side of kind of a character who's going to be a theocratic leader. Yeah. We want a regular guy who's going to do what he wants, ruled by fiat. That's the end of it. Okay, fine.
What are you talking about today?
Right, 100%. That is why. Well, that's why the Bible is on the bestsellers list, because it speaks to every man in every time. There's never been a time that we have wanted to follow the law of God per se. The majority of people want to follow the law of God. They all say that they do. Of course, they say God rewrote the book, or God, whatever the case is going to be, version 1, 2, 3, and I don't know how many verses we're up to at this point with different religions. But it's just what it is. People want to make God in their image instead of God making us in His image, and that's another thing. So now that's what we got up to. So now chapter 11. Vial Nachash Ammoni. So now Nachash the Ammonite came up. V'yichan al Yavesh Gilad, and he encamped against Yavesh Gilad. And Vayomru kol anshe Yavesh el Nachash. So all of the men of Yavesh said to Nachash, Karad lanu brit, make us a covenant, make a covenant with us, v'navdecha, and we will serve you. Very sweet. Okay, so they don't want to have a fight. Nachash the Ammonites come up, And he was the king, according to Marikra, he was the king of the Bnei Ammon, the children of Ammon. So we don't want to fight with you. We want to make a covenant, and we'll serve you, no problem. And what does mean? We will serve you. Stam, it means without any tricks. It means that we're going to pay taxes. We'll give you tribute. Okay. And did they say anything else? Yeah. So it says the Malbim says Kafir Nira. According to it seems that Hitkane Nachash was upset or jealous, as it says, Al Shem Lichu Yisrael Melech, on that the Jews had crowned themselves a king. So he wants to now make war with them. After all, it's not nice what you've done. They're all asleep. Okay. So therefore, they went against the men of Yavesh Gilad. Why Yavesh Gilad? Malbim says, Ki Bnei Binyamin lachu neshehem, because the people of Bnei Binyamin, the sons of Binyamin, took their wives of Yavesh Gilad, took their girls for wives. After the historical event of the concubine Giva, so simply, Mistama, it could be most of a lot of people from Bnei Binyamin settled there. He had Anshe Yavesh Hargu, because they had killed the people of Anshe of Yavesh Gilad, not the Benjamites, but the people did. Because remember, they didn't go. The Yavesh Gilad didn't go to war, so the people killed them out, which was the neder that they made. Anybody who doesn't go will be killed. So now the daughters inherited their father's portion, which meant they went to the now Benjamin. So therefore they went against him, as they were from the family of the king, right? Benjamin, because he's come from Benjamin. So he says, Karat Lana Brit, so they make a covenant with us. Hu Brit Ava v'Shalom v'Scharzeh, make us a piece of love and peace, and in that regard, we will serve you. We'll no problem. We'll leave our king. It's no big deal.
Nobody really likes him anyway.
They weren't saying that, but which is interesting, by the way, because also you're going from secession here. You're seceding from the but think about it. If I have one king who I know, he's my relative, fine, he's from my family, but it doesn't mean that if I'm on the border, then you have to deal with that. My father used to say, because he grew up when he was in Germany, he was living in Gleiwitz. Gleiwitz apparently is on the border of Poland and Germany, I guess. So my father said, depending on when you woke up in the morning, which country you're part of. So, but it says, so that would be the same thing here. Okay, so it's up to you, Shaul, if you want to keep the kingdom. Otherwise, we'll make a covenant. We don't want to fight. Bottom line, we don't want to fight. And he said to them, Nachashimoni said to them, Bezod echrot lachem. I will make a covenant with you with this. What is this? Benakor lachem kol ein yamin. You pluck out your right eye. Take out your right eye, and no problem. And I will put a shame on all of Israel. So that's it. You gouge out your right eye. You do that, and I'm going to make you a covenant. I have no problem with it. So it says, Malbim says, Hakrito Brit Yatamid Be'ed Davar. When you make a covenant, there always has to be a witness with it. There always has to be something to show we have a covenant.
Yeah.
So he says, Mashal, For example, Im ta'aseh imanu ra'a kasher lo nagucha. And for example, it says, if you do evil with us and that we did not touch you, so just as we didn't touch you, don't touch us. We have an aid to this. We have a witness to it. We have a standard bearer. So that was embraces. That was when Avimelech was talking to Yitzchak. Just as we sent you away without taking your wife, without killing you, without taking your money, so also treat us kindly too. Fine? So, Mechuki ha'amim, and also according to the statutes of the nation, she'im yichamu al ir, if they're going to fight on the city, v'yashlimu tekef, and they will pay them immediately. So yichurtu imahem brit, they would. In other words, let's say they want to wage war in the city, and the city immediately pays them money, they make a covenant with them. That payment would be in exchange for them not being attacked. Okay, so we have always an agreement going on. But that's only if there's a possibility that they would fight. This would not be the case if they were be successful. They would do, if that's the case, that they're going to be, they'll do what they want with them. That's why he said to them, you have already been given into my hands. You don't have the ability to fight or the advice to fight here. So if that's the case, if you don't have anything to offer me to make it worth my while not to attack you, so what should you do? But if you want, so for me, if you take out your right eye, pluck it out, that way it'll be purposeful for me. Why? Because then I'll put a chirpa, a shame, or a disgrace, how did you say it? A reproach on of Israel. Because what it's saying is, their brothers couldn't save them. In other words, the people of the rest of Israel couldn't help them out. So these people, in order to have peace with me, had to pluck out their right eye. It would show a great reproach to everybody. And if that, and once that happens, it is as if I conquered the entire Israel. And once you do that, I'll be more than happy to make the covenant. If you pluck out your right eye, you will show that your kingdom is a vassal. Shaul is a vassal kingdom. There's really nothing there. It's just a name, and therefore I will have ruled over it. Period. And without even firing a shot. Okay. So
he came there first, and so when it camped out up against him, so the people they're right away. They're afraid right away, and they want to make a covenant right away.
Let's make a covenant. We don't want to fight. We're not interested in fighting. Make a covenant. We'll work with you. We'll serve you. And as she says, you have nothing to offer me. You have nothing. What? Except just pluck your eye. Because and again, 1 second. And again, the Malbim is saying, if you do that, it means that the rest of the Jewish people didn't come to your side to rescue you. Where's your king? In other words, you hired a king. Your king is supposed to wage your wars. Your king is supposed to make covenants. Yeah. Can you imagine the the Mexican border? Mexican border comes over to Arizona. Arizona butts? Okay. Yeah. That shows my lack of geography. Okay. So it butts to Arizona. Suddenly Arizona, the border town of Arizona says to the Mexican government, let's make a covenant, let's make an agreement. Whatever, we'll give you taxes. What are you talking about? How can you can't, you, the border town, have no right to override the United States of America. Let's be so honest about that. We have their right. Okay, so even if it's provincial, whatever they want to call it, they don't have the right. They're paying taxes to us. You want to pay double taxes, do what you want. But you have to pay taxes to us. You have to be subservient to us. You have to follow our rules. That's what we call the United States of America. Okay? So you can't break away from that. And so the government, let's say the Mexican government would say, well, you really have no to offer me. You're a little town. But if you pluck your right eye out, so that means, and nobody from America and Mr. Trump doesn't send in the armed forces, that means I've beat the whole United States of America. You understand? That's what they're saying. And that, yeah.
My question was the physical symbolism of the eye being plucked out. People can see them without the eye, and that's like the stand. That's like the bearer, the shame being bared. So is that also not the same kind of shame? But is that also like the thing with slaves? They had the earring, or the ring, the jewelry thing.
No, the reason they had to pierce the ear, according to the Gemaras, they're talking about the slave who says, I want to remain indentured. Right, so the reason the Torah says he has to do it is because Hashem said the ear, it has to be the right ear also, by the way, but the ear that heard the declaration that you are my servants has thrown that away to be given over time. So I guess you could say it's somewhat symbolic of that. But again, when God's saying do something, it's not really hurting the person, making them a cripple. Here you're basically making the entire. But yeah, I guess it would be a sign. Yeah, you could say, yeah, I guess you could say. But again, here the king is saying, if you're going to do that, then you have to pierce here to show that you've walked away from me. Right. Unlike here, in this case, where he's saying, I want you to show your subservience to me by doing that.
Right. But it's still that physical.
Right. No, 100%. Yes, I would agree with that. Yeah. Okay, so then he says like this. Zikne Yavesh. So now the elders of Yavesh said to him, Heref lanu shivat yamim. Give us 7 days. Let's think about this. Give us 7 days. Okay. A heref is, yeah. It's not saying what heref is. Was Rifayon. Heref means weakening. But, okay. So we'll see what happens. So give us 7 days, and then Nishcha Balachim, we will send out messengers, Bechol Kavul Yisrael, throughout all the borders of Israel. Vim Ein Moshia Otanu. And if there is nobody to save us, if we don't have anybody who's going to come and rescue us, so then what's going to happen? V'yetzanu elecha, we will go out to you. We'll give in. No problem. So that is what their answer is. And then, so what happens? Malbim says, V'yomru, ki halo lo tapik migmarcha sheyezer palachot Israel. It wouldn't be that way. It won't be a disgrace of all Israel. Rak im yadu mizeh lo yichlu azor. Only if they know from this and they can't help us. In other words, if we're not going to, if they don't go out, so if we aren't able to send anybody else, so then even if we would pluck our eyes, it wouldn't say anything about the rest of the people because the rest of the people didn't know it. Again, if I'm in a border town and somebody says something and we try to make peace and you don't want to make peace and you say do something, and by that you're showing a disgrace, well, unless I gave everybody the choice to come out, there's no disgrace here. So you're so brave. Give me 7 days. Yeah.
Okay, so Nachash Amoni, he's coming over, and he basically just wants to take over this one border town. Basically, he wants to what do you call it? Annex them into his country, and saying, just do this for me, gouge out your right eye, all of you, and we'll let you live here. Well, you give us taxes. And now the people are having a second thought about it.
No, but again, he says not only that, but if you do that, it'll be a shame for Israel. Because it means that Israel couldn't save you.
Because you're giving up on them and they're not coming here. So you've given up on them and they're nothing then.
Right. Yeah, okay. And as a result, I rule over all of Israel.
How could he be so brash as to make that statement? How does he know they're not going to come later?
Oh, no, because you're going to come at the beginning. You're going to protect your border and your people from the beginning.
And if they don't come, so then
he says, so you obviously showed that you were cowards, and therefore
you don't expect them to come at all.
Yeah, he doesn't.
Why else would they agree with him?
He doesn't expect them to come. Nachash doesn't expect them to come. He expects that he expects that they're going to fall apart.
And so he's
remember, it's a nascent. It's no different than when in 1948, when Israel declared independence, and all of the Arabs decided to fight. Nobody ever thought the Jews would win. It was a total, unadulterated miracle that the Bnei Yisrael won. Total, there's no question. That was an open miracle that a bunch of Holocaust survivors who, Zionist tendencies, blah, 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 but they were not a trained army.
Yeah.
At most, they knew guerrilla warfare. Maybe. But here they were coming over, and they were survivors. There's no way they should have won. There's no way. And all the other wars. 67, no way. 6 days. Who ever heard such a Michigan? Okay? But 1948, especially 48, when they came in. And not only did they win, but they got territory from it, which they relinquished right away because they were told to. But it's just an amazing thing. So that's the same thing that's going on here. If I can get one town and you couldn't defend it, that means I rule over the whole situation. That was what Nachash was saying. That's what according to the Malbim. He wasn't just going to annex it. Why did he care about a border town?
He was hoping that would intimidate the rest of the country.
Right. I came in. You immediately said, we won't fight. So you're a bunch of, what kind of nonsense is that? Yeah. And again, if you think about how it should work, it should really go to, they should have sent right away a message to the king. Shaul, you're the king, do something. It's for you to manage that. That's why we wanted a king. So we wouldn't have to do this. And now we're doing it ourselves. What are you doing? You're showing that your own king isn't a king. Now you could always say that in their defense, that they weren't used to the system. It's true. It's true. If you're not used to a system, then you're not going to really, I can't imagine that when we elected our first president, or even further down the line, and even to this very day, we don't really run to the president to do certain things, right? We try to figure it out on our own, and when that doesn't work, so then we go higher and higher and higher and higher until we finally get till you finally get to the top office where the buck stops here. That was Truman, right? Yeah. Well, he had to come up with that statement: the buck stops here. Fine, but normally you would try on your own, and then you would go and keep going. So I could hear, and they just elected the. Well, he didn't elect him, but he was just appointed by God. So Nachash is going for it. Let's go for the jugular while there is a nascent state or a nascent country. That's all. That's what you do. He wasn't stupid. He knew how to do it. So what happens? V'yavo hamalachim givat Shaul. So the malachim, the messengers came to givat Shaul. V'yadabru hadvarim ba'aznei ha'am, and they spoke this matter into the ears of the people. In other words, they told them what was going on. And vayishu kol ha'am ekolam vayivku. All the nation lifted up their voice, the collective voice. It's interesting. It's not called. Kolehem, kolam. Okay, that's everybody knows grammar at this point. Kolam is their voice, not their voices. Their voice, their collective voice was raised as one people. Now you'll never get that in the Hebrew. The people raised their voice and cried. I guess. Well, I don't know. Maybe you'll get that. It's collective. Okay, and they cried. Fine.
Because each one has only one.
Because each person has only one, right?
So then why is it? But it's collective in the plural. It's their. Well, my point is when you have names like it's a nation, you usually refer to it as an it. It proceeded through the desert. It sinned, right? And this is they. So why?
There.
Right? But
because there's two ways to say there. One the collective way. Kolam. Right. The non-collective way would be kolehem.
Its voice.
Their voice. Same thing. Hem versus am.
Right.
No, that's what I'm saying to you.
Right.
It's there because it's talking about the nation, right? When you talk about the nation, you say the nation they are. You wouldn't say the nation he is. But I'm talking about a person, right? Yeah. Okay. So, and then again, Vayivku, and they cried. So, Givat Shaul, why there? Why the messengers go there? Why do we hear about that? Again, the Malbim says, Sheshalchu Rishon the Makom HaMelech, because they send him first to the place of the king. Why should you send him somewhere else? Let's go to the king, let's go right to the jugular and see what the king is going to do. So I think it's interesting that the first thing they do is they cry. And then what happens? So they came to the people, they came to the place where the king was, but apparently the king wasn't there, he was out tending his sheep. Okay, and so he goes out, and behold, the Shaul came after the sheep. And there's he came from tending the sheep.
Shepherding.
Shepherding. Yeah, shepherding, or the sheep or the cattle, whatever you want to call them. And not the sheep. This is bakar, right? Where is it? Bakar is cattle. Sorry, cattle from the field. V'yomer Shaul, and Shaul said, Ma la'am ki yivku. What's going on that you're crying? What is happening? I don't understand. Here the poor guy was out working. Can you imagine the king today? Can you imagine Mr. President Trump going out and, I don't know, cleaning his car, taking care of his garage, doing all that manual work? Yeah, that doesn't happen. That's not a king. By the way, you're also seeing something about Shaul. He wasn't acting like a king. He wasn't acting like a king.
He was out in the field.
He's out in the field doing what he normally does. His father had cattle. He went out to the cattle. Tend the sheep. Do what you're doing. Play your flute. Who cares what you're doing? You're not like a king. A king doesn't do these sort of things. There has to be, I remember when I was walking in, I won't say the place because I don't want to embarrass the person, but I remember I walked into a place where the rabbi had a mop in his hand and was mopping the floor, Erev Shabbos. Now, it wasn't his house. Okay, it was the place he was working. And I looked at him, I said, Rabbi, parsonage for the Rav to do that. It's not nice for the rabbi to be mopping the floor.
In his house or in the shul?
No, it's a shul. It's a shul. So he said to me, so you want to mop? I said, no, I don't want to mop. He said, so who, I don't have money to pay somebody, so who should do the floor? Okay, so that's an expression of where there are no men, where there are no leaders, you have to be the man. So in this case, he didn't have anybody to come. That's what he did it himself. But still in all, that wasn't what the Rav should be doing. I remember when I had my first job in Moncton, so it was, there was snow on the stairs, walking into the shul. And they were having a meeting, a party, whatever it was. So I took the shovel, because nobody had taken the shovel. And I walk up a couple of stairs. It wasn't, you're in Canada with snow, and it's cold. And there are older people coming up. They weren't all young kids who were running up the stairs. And even there, somebody can get hurt. So I took the shovel, and I made a path for everybody. And so one person said to me, oh, it's good. The rabbi took the shovels. No wonder we hired the guy. Okay. And, so in their minds, I belittled my job because it wasn't for me to do. Some people liked I did it, but, but it wasn't proper for the Rav to do it. Rather, they should have got somebody else. They didn't were too cheap to do it. Okay, I don't know. Well, they didn't think about it, whatever it was. But, or they just you were so used to walking through snow that it didn't really matter to them either. But that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you have to realize your position doesn't allow you to do certain things anymore. Okay, and so here's Shaul. Okay, it's a little mushy you get from it, but it's an interesting mush that it's telling us where he came from, what he was doing. And so he wasn't in the thing. So he says, what are you crying for? Vayisapru, and they said to him, Divrei Anshe Yavesh. So they told him all the words of the men of Yavesh. Okay. And so here it is, by the way, the Metzudas David backs up what I'm saying when he says, Acharei Bakar. Why did he do it? Al Kira Shebezuhu. Because Shaul saw the people didn't respect him. Lo nahagam hu adayim be'atzmo kavod melucha. He also didn't conduct himself like a king now. And he got, okay, so he does. So everybody's agreeing on that. It's a musar. By the way, when you're reading Tanakh, those fine points are the story. Those fine points are the story. Everybody knows the major headlines, fine. But the main thing is if the king doesn't act like a king because he doesn't respect the office, or he believes that people don't respect him. And mind you, how many people were being B'nai Belial? It wasn't like in this country 50%, 49, whatever it was. Whoever it's elected, 49% of the people say, he's not my president, she's not my president, that's not my governor. It is your governor, face it. Wake up and smell the coffee. You lost. Bottom line is you lost. For 8 years, President Obama was my president. I don't have to like what he does. He's my president. For the next 4 years, for next whatever, how many years we have left, Trump is my president. I don't like everything he does. Benjamin Netanyahu, Ahmadinejad, all these guys are your leaders. You like them or don't. That's not my business. But they're your leaders. Okay? Pete, whatever his name is here, Mayor Pete. I don't know. I never get his Buttigieg. I always say his name wrong, so I didn't want
It doesn't look like it.
What?
It doesn't pronounce like it looks.
Whenever I say it, it's Buttigieg, so it's a Buttigieg. But he's my mayor. Again, I don't have to like what he does. I don't even have to vote for him. I'm going to vote against him. But he's my mayor at that point. So that's what's going on here. It wasn't everybody who was going up, but he didn't consider himself the king. Because of those B'nai Belial. If our leaders continue to listen to those people who are against them and judge and only operate for those people who are against them, that's not the way to run the country either. Okay, so that's where we always fall into. And that's what he went out to tend the cattle. It's not what a king does. Okay, so it says the Malbim Achre Abaka Sha'oro V'Sha'ul okay, so he was coming. Shekara Shabaka Shal Bnei Ir Halchu Lefanav. It happened to be that the Bakar, the cattle of the city, were walking in front of him. Fu Bachareim, he came after them. The Sefer Zeki Mesibazuna Tan Enab. It's seven Bakar. Oh, so Malbim say we have to hear this because of what the next part of the story, where he's going to get the yoke of the cattle and break it up. Okay. So they told him what's going on. So it says, "Vatitzlach ruach Elokim al Shaul." So the spirit of Hashem, as it were, came over on Shaul. They say it's passed over. That's what they say. Tislach is from the what's it called? Tzlacha. Okay, I'll use passed over. I'm going to try to figure something more, but it's more than that. It's Radak says. I'm sorry.
Did it come over?
It's even more than that, but it's ruach.
It means to thrive or succeed or fall upon.
Right. Yeah. All those things. Again, they all happen at the same time. But so it came over him. B'sha'ama'o, or it means when we read the kish sham'o, when he heard, not in his hearing, but when he heard. That's again, it's written b'sham'o, but we read it kish sham'o. That's a ktiv kri.
Oh.
Okay, that's why it says you should have. Is it have in this book?
Yeah.
At the bottom has it. Yeah, you see at the bottom, kisham. It says if you look at, it's right at the bottom.
Yeah.
Kisham. So when he heard it, and then what happens is, Edver me'ila these words, vayicharapom od, and he became very angry. Became very angry. So it says. Malbim says, Kavar Bira Choker. So it already was explaining the investigation. Kia Chalash. Kishiyishma Eza So he wanted to get, he became saddened at this, so the strength took over him, and his anger, he wanted to revenge. And through this, and since the spirit of Hashem, which was the spirit of strength, took over him, so that's why he wanted to get revenge from his enemies. So what does he do? So he took the yoke of the cattle. The yoke of the cattle, right? Yeah, a yoke of oxen, cattle. Okay. Pair of oxen. No. He took a pair of oxen?
The article says a pair of oxen. I think we had this conversation before.
A yoke.
When we were going on this previously, it was a question whether or not it was between the wooden part that was on the top of the cow, or if it was actually splitting apart the cow.
Right, but
in the process.
In the commentaries, Saul cut the oxen into pieces to symbolize that the nation lives only if it is united.
Okay.
Yeah,
So it's an actual living thing. He cut apart the oxen. So, I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we had this conversation before. But
Right.
I don't remember.
Okay, so it's interesting because he's going through Suda Sion. Suda Sion says the Tzog is a pair, Al Shem Shadarkim, because it's the way for them to walk when they're joined together. And then he would split them, he would cut all of them to pieces, which means their limbs. Okay, so that's where he's going with that. Okay, but 7 is usually a yoke, so that's why. What?
Because on the yoke, there's 2 limbs on the yoke. It's
Right.
bow.
Right. So v'ikach 7 bakar. So whatever it's going to be, either the yoke or of the cattle or a pair of cattle. V'hinat chehu, and he cut them up. V'yishalach v'chol gavul Yisrael, and he sent it, and he sent it out. Not, in other words, not to be returned. He didn't want it back. So he sent it out throughout all of the borders of Israel, biyad malachim, in the hands of the messenger, saying, Elam was saying, Asher enenu yodsei acharei Shaul v'achar Shemuel. Those that will, anybody who does not go out after Shaul and after Shmuel, thus will be done to his cattle, which would make sense that you're cutting up cattle instead of the yoke. Vayipol pachad Hashem ala'am, and so what happens is the fear of God, Yuke Vavke, falls on the people. V'yitzuk ishachad, and they went out like one man. So Malbim explains. Vayikach zeh. So he's going on again. Zayin and Chet. So let's do Chet. Vayev Kedeim b'Bazek, and they all came together in Bazek. Okay, they went. That's what the one said. Counted them in Bazek. Vayu b'nei Yisrael shlosh me'ot elef. So there were 300,000 people there. Ish Yehuda, and the men of Yehuda were shloshim aleph. Were 30,000. So from the Bnei Yisrael, in other words, the northern kingdom, if you will. So that was 300,000, and from the southern kingdom, 30,000. Why they're splitting them up is an interesting thing. You have to ask why they're splitting up. Because right now we don't have a split in the kingdom. We don't have. We just started the kingdom, so why would there be a split in the kingdom? But apparently they're already being split up.
Oh, because Yehuda's the biggest one there, so you have to differentiate between the. No, I guess if you're saying Bnei Israel, then it makes all the difference.
Yeah, you would think all of Bnei Israel is so. The question is why Southern was splitting them up. Yeah, I don't know if we have a history of before this of splitting them up. I forget that. But if we do have a history, then they're not going to comment. If they don't have a history, then there should be some commentary here on that. So we'd have to go back now. You have to. The best way to do that is to either Google it or to go to Concordancia and see how many times it's called. Concordancia would go through take a phrase, and it would show it every place it's in the Bible. So you'd have to look and see where that's. Either you can. Well, I think that would be easier than Googling at this point. because then you know what you're looking for. Okay. Concordancia, we don't have one here, but they're very a concordance, what they call it in English, concordance. But it's a great tool. It really is a very good tool because you put in the name Ha-Elohim. It'll tell you every time it's Ha-Elohim in the Torah, as compared to Elohim. What?
It's like a dictionary that has all the things. It's an actual.
It's a reference book. It's called a concordance. Every time it has that form of the word, it'll tell you where it is and in what. So if I want to write a research paper on something, on the words of the Torah, or the Bible, so I would use that. It would give me all the references I need. They go so far as in the for the Christians, they even go into the Christian scriptures. So they would make that sort of, right? You would have that too. I'm guessing if you have Mormons, they would throw in the Book of Mormon. Yeah. But it's whatever they're going to do. I don't know if anybody ever did that to go that far, but it's a great book. It's really whoever put it together had nothing else to do with their life, but that's how it shows. Yeah.
So is this? You mentioned the separation between the south and north. Is this foreshadowing?
I'm not sure. It could be a foreshadow, or it could just be how they were always counted, which would explain, by the way, why there could be a split. In other words, if you have, here we have a Mason-Dixie line too, right? I think it's the river. I'm not sure. I think the Mason-Dixie line here is the river because we have the north side of town and the south side of town.
Oh.
And the twixt shall never, they don't want to meet. To go to the north side is like going to New York for some people. They don't want to go. For me, I don't understand what the difference is. It's a matter of, I think, a mile or something. But it's, where's Notre Dame? That's the north side?
Yes.
Okay. So go to Notre Dame is crazy. Some people just, it's too far away from me. I understand it's 7 miles. It's 7 miles from here. But but that's what it is. So you have the river that basically stops up. So, and certainly in the Jewish community, you have the north side and you have us. Okay? And it seems that the two don't like to come together for whatever reasons. The south side, the north side certainly doesn't want to come up here for certain events. And we don't, and to go to the Federation sometimes, which is the north side, is sometimes very hard to get there too.
Yeah.
You know, why we would go? Now, you could argue 1,000 different things, but you see there's a split. So here in the kingdom, it could be also there was that sort of a split. Okay, so could have just been a geographical, I don't want to go there sort of thing.
No animosity, just.
I don't think there was animosity at that point. I can't imagine what the animosity would have been.
But it was easy to build animosity off of that first.
Well, if I'm not talking to you, if I'm not coming, why do you think that, look at Israel, why do you think the Dati don't like, why do you think the non-Dati, the non-religious don't like the religious? And it could go the other way too, I don't know. But why do you think that? Because they don't come together.
Yeah.
They're literally 5 feet apart. Why don't you come together? Leave me alone, you know? And again, we look at it and say it's ridiculous. But think about how split we are as Americans. Really. We're split up as Americans, we're split up as a Jewish community, we're split up as the Christians have 35 different denominations. You have even the Muslims are split up. They only have 2 or 3. Maybe they have more these days. I don't know. But it's everybody's split because why? Because there's no communication. Nobody's talking anymore. We're all family, but we're acting like family. We're fighting. We don't want to. He did something. He did something to my great grandpappy 20 years ago.
Yeah.
100 years ago. I can't talk to him.
The Hatfields and the McCoys.
Oh, it's okay. Yeah, it's so crazy. But that's really what it is: lack of communication. And it could be again because of the geographical differences. It could be a lot of things. Again, I could be sitting next to the guy and not want to talk to him because he comes from the north side and I come from the south side. It could be something like that too. And we've heard about these people, you know. I heard what happens down there in the Amish country. So
you know, these are 2 conflicting human instincts, and it has to do with power and money and many different social circles. But you know, some people they see by joining 2 together, there's strength,
Uh-huh.
and then they see personal strength by splitting apart.
Yep.
And we see this constantly in
Right.
society.
Can't say that. Okay, so let's finish up the what we're doing here, because I didn't want to get lost in this. So v'yikach, is there? So he says when he took it, zeh priya hacharon, av ke shiluah tov ha'itza imo. Okay, so he says in his anger he took from the bakar, from the cattle, and he went before them and he took and he split them up. What had happened? V'yor lehem bezeh gam came limod seichel. He also is giving us the what was behind it. Shekamo shelo yechol ruach el achayim beguf. Just as this is what you were saying, what the art scroll brought down. Just as life cannot hang itself on half a body. Rak biyot averav shlema duvukim ish alachiv. So also only when they're complete. So also when people are with each other, are they successful? Locain kishin kind of exarim, but not if you're going to break them up. So yeah, levela once you split up the cow or the people, they can't live. They're like a nevela, a dead person or a dead animal. So also the people, they have to be attached together. V'ish el re'ehu, v'ish el re'ehu, yazru mikol tzad, mikol sar hatzarel Allah chad me'averehem. So now each person is going to come to help against the enemy who is oppressing one of his limbs, if you will. Lokein im yitpardu, hem kintiche bakar, but that's not going to happen. They're going to be split up like the piece of the cow. V'alzeh amar kenyas liv karos. That's why he says that will be done to the person who doesn't come with us, who doesn't join with us. So it will be this, just as we cut this cow off, this will be done to your cow. Mida kneged mida, v'alzeh amar v'yetzu ki ish echad. That's why I said they went out like one man. Ki es kilu musro. They took his musar. They understood what he was saying. And they all came together as if they were one man. Asher Yagish called Aver Haparati Bitsar Hagav Kula. That they were all working together, and that's what they did. Fine. So we'll have to stop there. Yeah.
The join or die.
Join or die. Yeah. Yes. Join or we will as the people die. But if you don't join and we survive, we're going to do this to your cattle, so you're going to lose money. So
either way, join and
right,
survive.
Join us, or you're in trouble.